There's something about different attitudes. The police officer said to me on an accident, he said, "Sir, I've been to hundreds, if not 1,000 accidents. You have a very different outlook and attitude on things." Or attitude and outlook on things. And I said, I don't know what else to think. He said, "Oh, I could give you some options right now." So he's watching me. I have no idea who he is other than the police officer. 3 months later, I'm teaching down in the southern end of the county. A Methodist church asked me to come and teach on healing and do a little healing thing because they believe God heals. They just don't know how to teach it, and they're concerned about people that don't get healed and how do they handle it, blah, 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 blah. So they said, "We heard such good things and blah, blah, blah. Would you come and help us?" I played it cool like I wasn't all that excited. I was spinning inside, man. I just wanted to foam on the phone and be like, "Blah!" And I was like, man, that sounds amazing. Yeah, no, I'll do it. Yeah. And I hung up the phone. I was like, "Yeah, this is awesome." So I'm down there and I'm preaching my wonderful sermon, and it wasn't on healing, it was on living Christ and the things you're hearing me preach. Because that has everything to do with healing. Because when you're not living in that place, then you tend to feel guilty, condemned, and ashamed. It makes it very hard to receive when you don't think you're worthy. So I'm preaching just what I'm preaching all the time. And in the middle of my preaching, this guy stands up in the back. Old country church, 2 rows of pews. And he's in the second to the last pew, because there was a few people in the back pew. He was in the second to the last, sitting beside a guy. And he stands up, and he's standing there while I'm preaching. And in my mind, it's a healing service. He's got a back problem. He can't sit no more. I'm long-winded. And he's thinking, I got to stand up. And then I thought, well, we need to pray for him and address that. I said, "Sir, are you standing? Is your back what?" And as soon as I spoke, I said, "Or do you want to say something?" Well, that's risky. Unless you have a strong personality like me and you're okay loving people and adjusting and keeping the room clean. I said, "Or do you want to say something?" He said, "I was hoping I could say something." I said, "Go for it, man. I took a risk. What do you got?" You don't know what's coming out of his mouth. He said, you ain't even going to believe this. I got a live infomercial, as if I needed one, from this police officer. He says, "Were you in an accident in early April down on South?" I said, "I was, sir." He said, "I didn't expect you to recognize me outside of my uniform." I went, "I see you now, yeah." He said, "Yeah, I was the officer at the scene." I said, "Okay." He said, "People, I want to tell you that this man is for real." And I'm thinking, wow, I just got real. I'm thinking, what are you going to do with that? I'm real now. This guy is giving, no, this was amazing. You ain't going to believe his story. You can't even make this stuff up. Like, he said, "I just want to tell you that this man's for real. And everything I'm sitting here listening to him share, now I understand why I experienced what I did at the accident, because I have never experienced anything like I saw in this man." And I told him that I've been to hundreds, if not 1,000 accidents and never met anyone like him. Because of the way he conducted himself, cared for everybody, was selfless, didn't even look at his vehicle, wasn't even thinking about his smashed vehicle. He was praying for the people in the other cars. He was holding their 13-year-old granddaughter in the back seat like he was her grandpa. And he just loved on everybody there. And I was looking at him, and he shared his heart with me of why he's the way he is. And I have not been able to get this man out of my mind. That's what he said. Now watch. "But you don't even know the truth about me. This is my first time ever stepping in 40 years of life into the doorway of a church." He said, "When I was 8 years old, I was touched wrong by a so-called Christian. And I vowed in my 8-year-old heart to never be Christian, never be around Christian, never do anything Christian if this is Christian." 8 years old. He said, "But when I met this man, I said, maybe that thing when I was 8 wasn't Christian at all. Maybe I just met the real Christian. Maybe this is the true Christianity." And he said, "I haven't been able to get him out of my mind." He said, "A little while back, I just got diagnosed with a situation in my body. My friend right here knows where I'm at with church and God and all because of when I was 8. He cares for me." He said, "Listen, I saw a sign down on the such and such a church healing service Sunday night. You got nothing to lose. I care about you. Let's just go. Let's see what it's about. Because you could use healing. We'll sit in the back. If it's weird, we'll leave. This is stuff that goes on. They do that when they come to preach. Listen to me. Well, I don't know the guy, but I'll go check it out. I never feel pressured by that. He said, normally, I would have laughed him right out of my car for even suggesting me go to church. But he said, this time when he said it, I didn't even hesitate. I just looked at him and said, I'll go. He said, it's all because of what happened on the street at the accident, and I couldn't get him out of my mind. And then this happened, and he said, go to church. And I thought, I'm going to go. He said, this is my first time. I'm 40 years old. I have never been in a church. He said, and I don't know what I'm coming to. I'm a little nervous, and I'm like, what am I getting myself into? And I walk through the door and look up, and it's the same man. And I went, what? And then I begin to hear his message and totally understand why he lived the way he did on the scene of that accident. People, this man is the real deal. That's what he said. And then I played it up. I said, well, guys, now that I'm for real. We had so much fun with it. And then I said, no, listen, all playing aside, we can know him. We can live this way. What a testimony, guys. And I told him to come on up, and we prayed for him. And it's like, how beautiful is that? I am not trying to minister to that policeman. I'm just being who Jesus is in me in that moment and loving on everybody around me. And he becomes a victim, if you will, of the love and reality of God. And it shifts his whole life because he was believing a lie from a misrepresentation of Christianity through a terrible thing when he was 8 years old. And you and I get to be that difference maker if we walk in the light. Because light is greater than darkness. And it exposes it. Are you with me? So you'll never be this. You'll never walk what I'm preaching because you're trying to do it. You have to be it. And you have to want to become love. I'm convinced that the biggest problem on the planet is in politics. It's not wars. It's not racial stuff. The biggest problem on the planet is every day people wake up and live for themselves when they're made for God's image. And it's perversion. And they wonder why they're dry and empty and can't go on. Because you're on a road you were never created to travel. And why would he put gas in your tank to empower you to go where you were never called to be? Let's stop living outside of him. And let's get in him. Wake up every day and get to know him. Understand he's approachable and you're worthy. If you got struggles in your life, don't let that keep you from him. Make that run you to him. And say, God, I don't believe this is who I'm called to be. I don't want this in my life. Stop being your own judge, condemned, guilty, and ashamed. If you're judging yourself and you're guilty and ashamed, it means your heart's actually alive inside and you care. And the devil is misaligning your reaction to get you to crush yourself instead of run to Christ. You can't condemn a person that's not alive inside. You can't condemn a person that doesn't care. The people that are condemned believe they're lost and dead in their heart, and they believe they're wicked and evil. If they were that way, they wouldn't care and be condemned. It's a mishandling of conviction. You wouldn't give a second thought about your thoughts if you didn't have something good on the inside. You wouldn't be bothered by a thought if you weren't alive. And just a little side thought. And this is all free, by the way. Just a little side thought. The best way to be a barometer for your thoughts. Look at what they're producing and you'll know where they're from. But what I really want to tell you is this. If the thought bothers you, it's not coming from you. So you don't have to repent for something you're not. Well, I shouldn't be thinking this. Sometimes it's recollection. Sometimes it's just memory. Sometimes it's evil. Sometimes it's demonic. But if it bothers you, and you wish you weren't thinking it, or you wondered, why in the world is that in my mind? It's not coming from you. Don't label yourself for everything that runs through your mind. The weapon of your warfare is mighty in the breaking down of strongholds. What the devil wants to do is to take that thought and make it a stronghold. That's what happened to my wife. No, you cast it down. Every thought that rises above the knowledge of God, you cast it down. Every imagination, and bring it captive in obedience according to Christ. That stop believing everything that we think is coming from us. And then we cry and ask for prayer and feel like we have to repent for something we're not. You don't need prayer in that situation. You need truth. And you lift your heart and say, God, those things aren't even in my heart. I don't want anything to do with that old life. You changed me and made me new. Thanks for loving me. And if that thing keeps coming and you keep doing like this, that thing will help you build this. So that's why if you submit to God, resist the devil, he will. Some of us are trying to resist the devil. Your answer is submit to God. When you submit, you are resisting. When you resist, he'll flee because he'll realize he's actually building the kingdom in you. Look, he takes a great risk when he touches us. He's sure you're not really committed. He's sure you're caught up in the hype of it all as a young man, just hanging out with your peers in the zeal of what everybody's experiencing, and it's just cool to be a part of it and fit in. He's sure. Oh, he's sure. And he's like, this guy isn't surrendered, and I'm going to prove it. So he's sure he can break him with trials, temptations, things, but every time he comes at him, he runs a risk that he's actually a believer. So in his desire to break you and his arrogance believing he runs the risk of actually making you, because you're selfless and surrendered. Ain't that awesome? Okay, I gotta stop. I gotta stop. Oh, I gotta stop.